Okay, so the story for Men in Black Alien Crisis actually follows a brand new character in the MIB universe named Peter, who in the beginning isn't an MIB agent. He is actually a art thief who steals a Egyptian book for one of his clients, and then he finds out after he hands off the book to his client that the client is in fact going to kill him, and to kill him he has a army of aliens. So these aliens try to attack him. He manages to get out of there, and then of course MIB finds him. They're gonna flashy thing him after they interrogate him, but then they realize, you know what, this guy is really skillful. He has a lot of skills, and you know what, let's put him on the team and find out what this guy is trying to do. Why is he in contact with aliens, and why does he want this book? So that's pretty much the story right there. The reason why I kind of like this story is three things, okay? The dialogue is actually not that bad, the characters are somewhat likable, and also it doesn't follow the movie, which means it's not going to be the same story that you've heard in the movie, just retold terribly in a video game. So that's a good thing to me. I mean, it's a brand new story, you get some new characters, it's somewhat fun. I actually enjoyed the story somewhat. I like the characters, I like the dialogue, it's somewhat funny sometimes. I kind of enjoyed it. So you know what, the story for the most part isn't that great, but it's okay. Let's go on to the sound. Now let's talk about the sound. The voice acting in this game is actually damn impressive, considering it is a movie-based game, of course. And the main two characters in this game are actually voiced by Troy Baker, who is an incredible voice actor, everybody should know, and Jennifer Hale, also an incredible voice actress. Oh, it's a woman. It's a woman. And and they are both really good in these roles, even though, I mean, they're not fantastic. They're not like, oh my god, standout, mesmerizing performances, but no, they're really good in the roles. Everybody else does a great job as well, or a good job, I should say, not great. You know, everybody does a good job. Now the sound design is very repetitive. I mean, the whole game is just bang, bang, bang. You just keep shooting, so you just hear the same guns over and over, and same explosions and enemy sounds and stuff. It does get very repetitive. And seeing that the sound design is so loud and frantic at times, I could barely hear the soundtrack at times, and really what I heard was pretty forgettable anyway. So overall, the sound isn't amazing, but it's actually pretty good considering what it is, a movie-based game. Let's go on to the graphics. Now let's talk about the graphics. Graphically, this game is not very pleasing to the eye. I mean, it does have some decent things in it, like some of the gun effects and some of the monster designs here and there, and the character models don't look horrible, but for the most part, it's definitely not a pleasing thing to look at. Environments are very, very repetitive and so drab. I mean, all the textures are muddy and disgusting looking, and even if you're in a completely different environment, there's always like crates everywhere and boxes and columns for you to hide behind, and it's so bland and boring to look at. Environmental wise, it's not a very good looking game. The animations are very wonky looking, especially for the enemies, which every time they run away, it looks like they're just running on a rail, and it just looks very, very silly. And even though some of the enemy designs look okay, it's very, very repetitive, because you'll be seeing the same ones over and over and over again and shooting them in the face over and over and over again. So really, look wise, it's not a very appealing game. There is some okay things, but for the most part, it's not that great looking. So overall, yeah, graphics aren't that great. Let's go on to the gameplay. So let's talk about the gameplay. Luckily, MIB Alien Crisis decides to do something a little bit different with its gameplay. It decides to actually go very arcadey, somewhat like a Time Crisis, where you go around and you shoot enemies, but the only way to actually progress in the environment is to kill all of the enemies, and when you do that, your character will move up a little bit and take cover behind some other stuff, and you pop out of cover and shoot a bunch of enemies, and then you keep progressing through the environment, which is, I mean, sure, it doesn't make for a $60 groundbreaking game, but it actually makes for a somewhat entertaining time. But even though it is fun just killing a bunch of enemies, it does get repetitive and pretty quickly. But luckily, they also add variety in the game, which is good. Sometimes you actually have to get into like a flying car, which they call the MIB Cruiser, and you have to fly through the city shooting enemies while also dodging obstacles. Sometimes you'll actually have to be stealthy in some missions and shoot out cameras and then take out enemies here and there. And sometimes you actually have to just talk to some characters that are in the game and just have a conversation, which is very strange from going around shooting everybody and just having a very casual conversation. It's kind of strange, but it works for the most part, and it actually breaks up gameplay evenly so it doesn't become way too overbearingly repetitive. And also throughout the game you'll acquire brand new weapons to use, like some of them are like just regular like pistols, shotguns, machine guns and stuff, but you also acquire new abilities like a force field or somewhat like a plasma grenade or something, which is kind of cool and adds a little bit of variety as well. And you can also upgrade each one of your weapons and abilities by fighting off enemies and also defeating bosses that you'll encounter, which increases the power of your weapons and stuff, and it makes them even more badass so you can kill even more aliens. So overall, Men in Black Alien Crisis is actually a okay movie tie-in. It's a fun little arcadey shoot-'em-up game that does get repetitive, but it does add a little bit of variety here and there. And also, if you do have a PlayStation Move, then I definitely recommend you buying this game, or I'm sorry, not buying it, renting this game for the PlayStation 3 so you can play with the PS Move, because the regular controls are okay, but the PS Move controls are definitely much better. So anyway, there's my review for Men in Black Alien Crisis. I hope you enjoyed it. Go and try out the game because it's not that bad actually. So anyway, thank you and goodbye. Also, remember to follow me on Twitter and like my Gore the Movie Guide Facebook fan page. Links in the description. Thank you for watching this video and goodbye.